But next up, we have a guest from across the Atlantic, come from the east coast of US to talk to us about burnout. So, welcome, Nichole.
Good morning. I think we can do a little better than that. Good morning. Awesome. Now, as you can tell, I'm not from here. When you saw this title, Burnout, what did you think? Did you think that this is another session about doing more yoga, or I'm going to tell you to do more breathing exercises and things of that nature? I am not. What I am here to do for you today is for you to look at yourself as a leader, to look in the mirror, to see, what am I doing? Why am I feeling so stressed? And why am I feeling so burnt out? But first and foremost, before we get into any of that, I would like to personally thank the EUC for the invitation to come out here before each of you, because this topic is very, very important. There's not a lot to do. I'm not going to talk a lot about all the tech talk. You're going to get that all day. I'm going to disrupt all of that. So are you ready? All right. Now, in your world, though, of tech, the migrations, all of those things, those expectations, they don't adjust because of how you feel. You must perform, and you must perform consistently. You're expected to deliver. And most of you, you're pretty good at handling that pressure. I can see it, but you're handling it on the outside. How are you handling it on the inside? And then some of you may even have teams. You have to manage yourself as well as your team, and over time, the more stressed you are, the less patience you have. The less patience you have with your team, the less patience you have with your leaders. It happens. You spend more time moving than actually deciding. But here's the thing, you just call it pressure. It's part of the job. You're just being responsible, right? But I see on the agenda today, and I saw in the presentations, all of these enhancements. We enhance our computer systems. We enhance our technology. We enhance so many things in the tech world. But you know one thing that we don't enhance? Your mindset. Some of you are still operating on an old CPU from 1980. What happens if you don't upgrade that? You're going to crash. And it happens more and more than you realize. That's why I'm here. So, who am I? I'm Nichole. My background is in implementation, close cousin of yours, implementation, process strategy, and improvement. I'm also an author and an entrepreneur. But why am I doing this now? A few years ago, I had a great opportunity and I got promoted, right? That's a good thing, right? I got promoted to this implementation space. Here's the key, though. The person who was supposed to train me, they were released. They were fired. This role that I was hired into was brand new. There was no system. There was no processes. There was no nothing. I knew most of the job. I had a job description, but that was it. Now, this role is similar to what you're doing, multiple projects, multiple projects. And I'm trying to figure all of that out on my own. I had a new team, I had a new manager, I had people to report to me, but I didn't have a clue what I was doing. On the outside, it did. I knew enough to do the job. I knew about 50% of the job. But on the inside, I was drowning. I was lost, didn't want to say anything, didn't want to speak up. I was hired for this role. It wasn't until I stepped back and I took an entire weekend to develop my own systems and processes in place. When I did that, I wrote out the SOPs, standing operating procedures. I wrote out a handbook. I wrote templates. I did everything I could. And guess what happened when I did that? I became confident. When I became confident, when I had my systems and processes in place, I stopped operating out of fear and chaos, and I started operating with a plan. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize. The reason you are so burned out and overwhelmed and stressed is because you are operating out of chaos. The brain survives on rhythm, repetition. And we will get into that in just a moment. Wrong way. Burnout is expensive. This isn't just a people problem. It is a business problem. If I can get the right thing going here. Turnover is expensive. Disengagement is expensive. Poor decision making under pressure is expensive. What do I mean by that? Did you realize that poor decision making, disengagement, and turnover is also causing health problems? People are so burned out, they are now seeking medical assistance. Burnout is costly, but it's also invisible. It does not always show up in missed deadlines or major failures. Most of the time, it shows up much earlier and much quieter in how people think, how they make decisions, and how they show up day to day. This is not just a London issue or a USA issue. This is a global one. Burnout and disengagement have become a $1 trillion business problem. That's why this topic needs to be discussed more and more. You're already seeing the effects of it, whether you realize it or not. Has anyone heard the term quiet quitting? How many? Now keep your hand down. I don't want anybody to see that you've quietly quit. For those of you who have not heard the term quietly quitting, it's not about people leaving their jobs. They are just not being consistent. They're just pulling back. They're just doing what's required. No longer fully invested. And you're also seeing more and more leaves of absence. Have to excuse me, the different climate is really messing with me. So, in many cases, people are simply walking away from companies that fail to realize the human side of performance. We are no longer operating in an environment where people just follow instructions. People want purpose. They want flexibility. They want to be seen, whether they verbalize it or not. They want leaders who are clear, but also aware. Leaders who understand that performance is connected to how people are operating, not just what they're producing. And yet, in spite of this, the high-performing pressure environments, they still treat this as burnout. Like this is something people just need to manage on their own. But it's not like that. It's built into how workflows, how decisions are made, how expectations are set. This is what makes burnout expensive. Now, let me make this real for you. This came to me last week. A supervisor and her manager, her director, they both had to prepare for this huge presentation in front of the board. The supervisor and the manager did not have good communication, I'll say that, to say the least. Now, during this presentation and working on the presentation, the supervisor saw gaps in the director's other team and brought it to her attention and said, hey, if I present this slide, it's going to paint your other team in a negative light. What did the director say? Don't worry about that. That's not for you to worry about. You work on your slide, I'll work on mine. Okay, that's how it goes. Well, presentation day. The supervisor, she did her job. She told them what's going on, exposed the gap in the other team. After the presentation, what did the director say to the supervisor? How dare you? I don't appreciate you exposing my team. Supervisor said, I tried to tell you, this is our dynamic. You don't want to listen. I am out. And she didn't quit. She went straight to the doctor's office and was granted a medical leave because of stress. That was just last week. But I hear these cases all the time. Unclear expectations, mounting stress, poor communication. So that's the thing now. More medical visits, more employees taking leave. And it's not because they don't want to work, it's just because they cannot sustain in how they've been operating. That's where the real cost shows up. Cost increase, absenteeism increase, productivity drops, and eventually people leave. So when we say burnout is expensive, we are not talking about missed deadlines. We are talking about a full business impact. And when your capacity drops as a leader, your team speed drops, decision quality drops, rework increases, all of that is a business cost. So let's do a performance check for you. Ask yourself, let's say the past 30 days, are your decisions faster or slower? Are you more reactive or intentional? Are you delegating tasks or decisions? I know for sure your days are ending feeling energized, right? You're feeling energized after work? Yes? No? Okay. Are you mentally crowded? So, are you taking time to actually think, or are you just moving quickly just to keep things going? Are you responding to what's in front of you or deciding what actually deserves your attention? When it comes to your teams, are you delegating tasks or their decisions? Now, delegating tasks actually clears your plate, but delegating decisions, that's what builds a team. So if you're not feeling energized of the day, if you're still thinking about what's open, what's unfinished, what's following you out the end of the day, if you're noticing a shift in any of these areas, it's not just busy. This is how your performance can start to decline. Most people miss this because you're still getting results. You're still working. So you're probably in what we like to call a survival mode. There is a difference between functioning and performing at your best. This is where leaders can get it wrong. Your instinct is to push harder, to move faster, to stay on top of everything. That's not the move. The better question is, what are you carrying that is impacting how you lead? And a leader isn't just a person who has a team. A leader is someone whose decisions can affect others' outcome. Think about that. What are you carrying that no one sees? You can be carrying pressure without acknowledgement. You can be performing without processing. You can be leading without releasing. You can be providing without pausing. You can still be succeeding while silently burning out. Most leadership conversations focus on what's visible. That's what we're taught. Workload, expectations, performance, responsibility. Repeat. Workload, expectations, performance, responsibilities. But what often goes unaddressed is what you're carrying in here internally. And I'll admit, most of my conversations like this are geared towards women because we do carry a lot. We're nurturers by nature, wives, mothers, all of this. But you've been in this room, most of you are men, you carry a lot too. You just carry it differently. You carry it silently. But you've been taught to do so. The pressure to provide, the pressure to perform, the expectation to have all of the answers. Am I right? Even when you don't know the answers, you are taught to stay steady, not to show emotion, not to show uncertainty. You just handle it, you absorb it, and you keep moving no matter what. You don't carry less pressure. You just don't say it out loud. The heaviest pressure a lot of you carry is not the workload. It's your expectation of yourselves. That's what you're carrying. But over time, that pressure doesn't stay external. It becomes internal. It's that voice that says, don't get it wrong. Don't fall behind. Don't let people down. You were taught that acknowledging pressure looks like weakness, but it's not. You keep producing, but your silence will eventually come at a cost because no one sees that pressure. It shows up in your decisions, your patience, your energy, your ability to think clearly under pressure. Strong leaders do not ignore what they're carrying. They recognize it before it starts to impact. Now, because once you move from the mirror to leadership, the weight actually increases because now you're just not carrying your own expectations. You're carrying other people's expectations as well. Their performance, their growth, their livelihood, their mistakes. The pressure to make the right decisions does not impact you anymore. It impacts everyone connected to you. So leadership isn't about authority, it's about responsibility. The higher you go, the heavier it gets. It's just how it is. But if you never take the time to recognize what you are carrying internally, you don't just feel it personally. You just gotta recognize how it shows up and how you lead others. So before we talk about doing more, leading better, or performing at a higher level, we have to ask yourself, what are you carrying that no one sees? Burnout does not affect the energy, it affects decision quality. your team speed, and how the work flows through you. And I want to say this, your energy, that word yes. Whatever you say yes to, that's where your energy goes. I will repeat that. Whatever you say yes to, that's where your energy goes. So be mindful of your yeses. Performance without reflection is repetition. Whether you realize it or not, you are on autopilot. You're not tired from leading, you're tired from improvising. Performance without preparation is expensive improvisation. Now, I'm being mindful of my audience. See, I have a team here, sports. How much time does a team spend practicing? Hours and hours and hours of practicing, all for what? A 2-hour game, maybe? That preparation is amazing. After the game, they review the footage. They go over plays. Do they not? Why don't we do that with ourselves, with leadership? Who taught you how to lead? How much time do you prepare leading yourself? It's just not taught. So instead of improving, you repeat the same decisions, the same reactions, the same communication gaps, just in different situations. And because you're still delivering, it doesn't get questioned. But your team is experiencing a version of you that is operating on autopilot, always on, always responding. But here's the shift. Performance without preparation is not leadership. It is expensive improvisation. Leadership is not a personality trait. It is a discipline. And without reflection, that discipline quietly breaks down. That decision you made late in the day when your energy was already low, that was not a strategy. That was survival mode. That meeting you led while you were mentally already in the next one, I know that's me. I do that all the time. That is expensive improvisation. Those moments may not stand out individually, but they compound. And that's what a lot of people miss. So is your team getting the best version of you? Experience alone does not make you better. Experience without reflection just reinforces the same patterns. So instead of improving, you repeat. You just repeat. And without reflection, that discipline quietly breaks down. But here's the key. How many of us have heard that you need to just balance your life? How many people have heard that? Just balance it all. Work-life balance, work-work balance, home life balance, whatever. Balance, balance, balance. Take that word balance and throw it out the window. Does not exist. What you should do is prioritize. Balance means equal attention for everything. It's impossible. You can't do that. That's how you are wearing yourself out. Prioritization is intentional decisions. Balance spreads your capacity thin. Prioritization protects performance. Balance says when everything feels important, you react. Prioritization says when your priorities are clear, you lead. That's exactly how you can get out of the burnout cycle. It's not all about making lists. The issue is not that there's just too much to do. The issue is that there's too much being treated like it carries the same level of importance. Strong leaders decide what matters most in the moment and give it the level of focus it actually requires. If you are not intentional, everything starts to have access to you. How many of you are the go-to people? Everyone comes to you. Bob can do it. He's good. Let's do it. You keep coming to Bob. You are wearing Bob out. But Bob is too nice to say, I can't do it right now. You have to create some type of boundaries. Boundaries are not about doing less work. They're about controlling access to your time and attention. So that may be, hey, Bob may have to say, look, my hours to help are from 1 to 2, or block out a calendar if you need to. Prioritization is not about doing more. It's about protecting your capacity so you can perform at the level that your role actually requires. So if prioritization is the answer, it becomes, how do you actually make better decisions in real time? So you will have to learn how to filter out the noise. I call it the capacity filter. When you ask yourself these 3 things, does whatever this is require me? Does it require me right now? Does it even require my level? Not everything deserves you. Some things can be delegated. This is how you start to filter out a lot of these stressors in your life, in your workplace. Not everything deserves your time, your energy, but if you're not intentional, everything will try to get access to you anyway. So before you respond, before you step in, before you say yes, just ask these questions. A lot of things try to get your attention that does not require your involvement. The urgency does not always mean a priority. You are the system. In my role in implementation, I have so many projects, and they all have their own project manager. My part is the finance. I love money. You can probably tell. I love money. So I handle all of the finances for my projects. And they're all asking things of me at the same time, and they're all important. How do I filter that? I filtered that based on priority. If I know a project is going close to go live, that means that project manager gets priority. At the same time, I can have a high-level manager ask me another thing, but the high-level manager has to wait because I have to prioritize who needs me first, what is required of me first. And that's what we have to do. We have to learn how to filter. We have to learn how to filter. My framework is very simple. 3 things. My prioritization pyramid. Number 1, focus. This is what matters right now. For me personally, I always choose 3 things as my focus every day. This is focus is whatever is going to move you forward. The decisions that impact outcomes, directions, and performance. Supporting priorities, that's the middle layer. These are the things that help sustain the top. These are the systems, communications, relationships, the work that keeps moving but does not always require you at your highest level or immediate attention. At the bottom is everything else. That's where most people are. That's the chaos. That's at the bottom. Those are the 10,000 emails you get every day. Those are the phones ringing and all of those things that distract your day. everything else layer is where the burnout comes in. So let's be honest. Most people spend their time at the bottom not because they have to, because you allow everything and everyone to have access to you. Every request gets the attention, every interruption gets the priority, and by the time you look up, it's at the end of the day. A lot of work is still sitting there, and it's not because you didn't have the time, it's because your time was already spent and you're drained. Strong leaders protect the top, protect the focus. They do not give your best energy to everything. They give it to what actually deserves it. Because if you start your day at the bottom with the everything else, you will stay there. And it's about being honest about what you're giving your time to and what you're allowing to interrupt how you lead. This is where your peace starts to show up once you do this. And the thing is, even with me, this didn't come overnight. It took a while. It took me a while to get this pyramid going together. But it started with being intentional. It started with me looking in myself and asking myself, what am I doing? Why am I doing so much? Why am I doing this? I had to learn how to focus and stop being stuck at the bottom layer of everything else. And like I said before, once I developed my own system and my own processes and started my own filter, oh my gosh, it's like a heavy burden was lifted off of me because I had everything that I needed to do. Now, did it always go as planned? Of course not. That's not the world we live in. But that confidence erased all of that doubt and worry and concern, and it brought on peace. So I want to reiterate, when you're in the moment and applying your filter, what actually needs me? What am I saying yes to by default? And when you get that email that just distracts your entire day, it happens every day. Pause before you respond. Did you know that if you could just breathe for 60 seconds after you receive that disrupting email from your boss? Blink twice if you can. If your boss is around, don't say anything. Pause before you respond, and decide before you act. Just taking a few seconds makes a world of difference. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk to you about breathing exercises and all that, but it actually does work, especially when you get those types of emails. What to adjust? Protecting your capacity to improve performance. Stop carrying everything. Delegate your decisions, not just your tasks. Set clear priorities for your team as well as yourself. Remove unnecessary pressure. And here's the thing, model how to operate under pressure. People are watching you, not just your job, but how you perform under stress. I tell my daughter all the time, life isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you handle it. This is where the shift becomes critical because everything we talked about does not always affect you. It affects your team, how you operate. And sometimes, even when you feel like you may be communicating clearly, your team still may struggle because they are unclear, because they need to ask themselves certain questions as well. They need guidance, but if you don't have your stuff together, it's a little bit harder for you to lead. Because when everything is important, because we're all in it, we're in corporate America, that The big decisions come down and we just have to deal with it, and then it trickles down to the teams. It's just how life is. Everyone is stressed. But not everyone knows how to prioritize. But because you have me now, you can try to prioritize your day so you can help someone else, your team members or your coworkers, how to prioritize their day. Because they hesitate, they react. And then this is where some people mislabel it. Oh, they're just being lazy. They just don't want to work. It could be true, but sometimes it's just a lack of clarity or ownership. If you keep adding and adding without clear direction, your team will always fall behind. And part of leadership is deciding what no longer deserves the space. And I also want to reiterate about modeling under pressure. They're not just listening to what you do, they're listening to what you say, and they're watching how you show up. If you do not create a space to think, neither will they. So this is not about asking your team to do more. It's about creating an environment where they can actually operate well. Because leadership is not just about driving results. It is about building conditions that make those results sustainable. Now, do I have everyone's attention? I would like for you to repeat after me. Wait, repeat after me. You repeat after me. You are still in control of your day. Thank you. So, here's the thing. I know I said burnout is expensive, but so is your peace. Your peace is too expensive to give away every time your inbox dings. Even in a stressful environment, you are not powerless. Your day may shift, but your center does not have to. You may not control the request, but you control your response. You may not control the timing, but you can control your boundaries. So instead of reacting every time something comes up, because you know it will, it always does, anticipate it. You reset the rhythm of your day. This moment right here in leadership is in your own life. This is your ability to stay anchored when everything pulls at you. Disruptions will come, but chaos wins when you hand over the pen and let someone else write your day. Stop that. You are still in control of your day. And just because everything doesn't seem like it's in your control, it doesn't mean that you actually don't have control. You control your time. You control your attention. You control what gets scheduled. You control what gets delegated and what doesn't require you at all. See, and that's where people lose sight of it. It's not because of the workload. You just don't have that filter. And control isn't about having the perfect day. I tell myself every day, this is going to be a great day. Even when I'm having a sucky day, I still tell myself that this is going to be a great day. It's about making intentional decisions within the day you actually have. So I want you to say this with me. It's not on here. I want you to repeat after me. I decide what gets my time and attention. I decide what gets my time and attention, and don't tell that to your wife. That doesn't work. Okay? Don't go home and say, hey, this lady told me that no, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean work, not at home. That's beyond my. Okay, so the moment you start operating this way, your day doesn't have to feel so reactive. It becomes intentional. And I keep saying intentional a lot because you have to be intentional with these changes. I want you to lead and not just manage. And I keep hitting the wrong thing. So, peace is the new productivity. Leadership is what you choose to carry. Clarity improves your decision quality. Focus increases execution and speed. Protected capacity sustains performance. Up to this point, we've talked about pressure and capacity and how you can operate under demand. This is not what most people think, and is you think it's to push harder, and it's not. You define your productivity. Most environments, especially one like this, it rewards fast responses, constant movement, always being available. But fast is not a performance. Clarity is. That is what peace actually is in a work environment. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It is not a proof of commitment. It is evidence of misalignment. And when you fix how you operate, performance does not drop, it improves. Exhaustion is not a personality trait. It's something that we've trained ourselves to do. With me, when I have a lot going on, especially with my entrepreneur businesses and my job and then speaking engagements, I'm here this week, I'm in Costa Rica next week. It's a lot going on, but when I set myself up with a schedule, when I have focused times, you know what, I'm only going to do this for 2 hours. I'm only going to work on this for 1 hour. And I'm going to set aside rest time for 3 hours. When I started saying those things in my head, I started to feel so much better and less overwhelmed. But like I said, it didn't happen overnight. I really had to work at this. So you're not burnt out because you were taught the job. No one ever taught you how to protect your capacity. So this isn't about choosing where your energy goes. It's about leading yourself wisely and giving yourself permission to stop living in crisis mode. So to take action against burnout, decide what gets your best energy, protects your time and attention, stop defaulting to yes every single time, create space before you respond, and you lead with clarity. Now, burnout is not caused by one bad day. It is continuous and is built through repeated patterns. And the same way it's built, it can be changed, one decision at a time. So when you walk out of here, don't try to fix everything. Just start by saying, what's going to get my energy tomorrow and what won't? Lead from that space. This is not a one-time conversation. This is just a leadership shift. And this is what I want you to walk away with. You don't need more balance. You need better choices. You don't need more hours. You need clear priorities. And you don't need permission. You need intention. Your peace is too valuable to hand over to every email, every request, and every moment of pressure. Protect your peace like it costs you something, because it does. When you lead yourself well, the day stops happening to you and it starts moving because of you. Choose what matters and release what doesn't.